marvelous. Okay. I am Kathy Wimmer. I am the chairman of the Nueces County Historical Commission, and it is my delight to be your master of ceremonies as we present a remembrance of this great day back in 1836 at Washington on the Brazos, on a very illustrious day in which men signed away their lives, because then they had to go out and win the war. It's not enough to say that they're going to declare it, they've got to win it. It's my great pleasure this afternoon to introduce Connie Scott, Nueces County Judge. If Connie will come up and give us greetings from the county.
Thank you all again for being here at the Nueces County Courthouse. I am Connie Scott, Nueces County Judge. We do have councilmen here. Would you please stand and be recognized as well? Thank you for coming today. I hope that you all enjoy your time here, and that we take this time to remember and be thankful for the sacrifices that were given so that we can stand here and honor this today. We're very thankful always for the men and women who have given us the freedoms, much less this great day in Texas Independence Day. Thank you again for being here.
I'm not sure which one of these it is, so we're not going to worry about it. Let us ask for God's presence among us. Father Almighty, from whom every people takes its origin, be with us as we celebrate this day in the history of Texas, our legacy of liberty, and the generous sacrifices made by so many to help in our development. Be with us as we rededicate our efforts to fulfilling greater freedom and reverence for all our brothers and sisters in this state. May we never tire of working to overcome any threats to the nurturing of equality, respect, and reverence for all our brothers and sisters in the human family here in Texas, so that we may honor past sacrifices of others by our present struggles to promote courage, hope, compassion for those in need, and perseverance in pursuing ever greater freedom and prosperity for all. To you be the glory, honor, and praise, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
We will now have the presentation of the colors, and we will pledge each flag individually. We will have Jason and Noah Valencia offer the presentation of the colors and to do the pledges. Okay, Jason, if you'll do the United States flag, which is first. And Noah, over here as we get ready. We're going to do the pledge to the American flag first. In unison, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Redirecting now to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Do something a little bit different. We're going to hear about another mother of Texas, which I have known for quite some time, Walter Scoggin. I would call him sorry about sound system. Margaret Wright is the topic of our presenter. That's Walter Scoggin is going to talk about it because he has a personal connection with Margaret Wright. Walter, up front.
Yes, ma'am, right away.
Don't forget, I know you know this.
All right. Good afternoon and happy Independence Day. In order to fully appreciate the story of Margaret Wright, I believe it's important to understand what was going on at that time in Texas history. Now, most of you know that Mexico had won their independence from Spain, set up a functioning government, and had elected a president whom I'll refer to as Santa Anna. Now, in order to populate the north, the Mexican government awarded land grants to several impresarios, One of these land contracts was given to Martin de Leon, and he was to bring 140 families to the area now known as Victoria along the Guadalupe River in 1824. How's that? You hear me okay? Imagine to his surprise to find a woman already living there upon his arrival. That woman was Margaret Wright. Now, many historians believe that she had been there since 1821 or 1822. However, there is internet speculation that she did not arrive to the Guadalupe River area until as late as 1825 or 26. However, much of my knowledge about Margaret Wright comes from the Jacob Fox family history and a book, 300 Years in Victoria County. Now, there is little factual information about her early life. Most believe she was born in or near New Orleans, Louisiana in 1789. Now, internet searches, we all know how reliable those can be, claim she had a French mother and an English father, and lists her name as Margaret Teresa Robertson Wright. Now, as a young girl, she married a man named James Hayes, and they had 2 or 3 children, depending on which internet search you wish to believe. Not much is known about this, other than they did have a son from this marriage named Peter Hayes. Now, after her husband's death, she married a Frenchman by the name of M. de Trudeau Tudor Pronounce. I'm sure I butchered that French name. Now, I found no official records of any children or of how he died, but once again, some internet searches claim they had 2 daughters, not to mention several other variations of his name. Now, back to the Fox family history. She married, buried, and separated before leaving Louisiana, probably in a covered wagon, headed out into the wilderness of present-day Texas. She came to the Guadalupe River near present-day Victoria and settled there. Imagine De Leon's surprise when, as he's parceling out land tracts, he found what must have been a very independent woman living by herself, probably with a child, in the wilderness in 1824. Now, of course, he gave her the land tract where she was already established along the banks of the Guadalupe River. Now, shortly after De Leon arrived with his colonists, she met a guy named John David Wright. Now, Wright was probably from Tennessee and came with De Leon and the colonists to help settle the area. Now, as far as John Wright is concerned, years later, as the story goes, he was reportedly out on the run, hiding in the river, in the Rio Grande River area, under the protection of the Mexican government, probably on the run from Tennessee or Mississippi law dogs. I'll just put it this way. Many claim that she married a no-good. Many years later, they divorced in a court case that actually reached the Texas Supreme Court. However, their marriage produced 2 children, 2 girls. The first girl was Amy Ann Wright, who married General Jose Maria Ramirez. Now, they moved to Eagle Pass along the Rio Grande River, which was quite a distance from Victoria. Several years later, both were murdered by a servant boy that had been in their employment for about 2 years, for reasons unknown. Now, the second daughter of John and Margaret Wright was named Tennessee, which is a Fox family name to this day. Tennessee met and married Henry Noble, and they had 1 daughter, Clara. Now, as a side note, Noble had passed away and Tennessee remarried to a fellow named James Bennett, of which there are also many descendants. Now, Clara Noble, the granddaughter of Margaret Wright, married a widower named Jacob Fox. If any of you are familiar with the Victoria area, the Fox name is very familiar in that area. Now, I believe at this time it's very important to understand the political atmosphere in Texas in order to better understand Margaret Wright's contributions to Texas history. When Santa Anna had stepped down as president of Mexico and then came back a year or 2 later as a dictator, This upset the balance of power which had been established by Mexico's original constitution. Needless to say, this did not go over well with many of the children of the citizens living to the north in present-day Texas. Many of you know well of the early days of the early rebellions to this action, beginning with the Come and Take It flag of Gonzales. As Santa Anna pressed to the north toward the mission at present-day San Antonio, the political resistance was becoming much more vocal. By the time La Bahia and Goliad was being evacuated, Santa Anna's military was well established among the Texas settlers. This included regular, sometimes daily searches among the most vocal resistance, which of course included the very independent Margaret Wright. For the 30 or so who escaped the ravages of the Goliad massacre, Margaret Wright was a life-saving heroine. To keep things in proper perspective at this time, Margaret Wright would have been in her mid to late 40s. Now, nowadays, we probably don't think that that's too old, unless you're a teenager. In that case, you're ancient. But back then, hard life, hard country, that was considered old. We're not gonna. If she had been caught helping and assisting the soldiers, it probably would have meant certain death. At the risk of her own life, Margaret Wright harbored, fed, clothed, and nursed some of the soldiers that had escaped the Goliad massacre. She made daily trips down to the river in order to draw water and secretively give aid to our soldiers. Our soldiers also left informative notes for her as well. She hid food and medical supplies and marked hollow logs along the Guadalupe River. She also hid soldiers on and around her property, even with daily searches and inspections being conducted by Santa Ana soldiers. I truly believe that because of the political atmosphere at the time and Margaret Wright's independent nature, her political beliefs concerning Texas independence from the actions of Santa Anna must have been well known to his troops. Once again, I stress the importance of her actions. If she had been caught, it would have been certain death. Evidently, for Margaret Wright, Texas independence was worth the sacrifice of aiding and abetting the enemy. One of the recorded accounts of her bravery was William Hunter. As the story goes, he was wounded at the Goliad massacre, faked his death, made his way to near the Guadalupe River, which is 15 to 18 miles away, and was nursed back to health by Margaret Wright. She nursed his wounds, fed and clothed him, and kept him hidden on her property from the enemy. What an incredibly brave, independent woman. Many years later, in a political speech by Sam Houston while running for governor, he referred to Margaret Wright for all her bravery in hiding and securing our soldiers at risk of her own life as the mother of Texas. Now, earlier I mentioned the Fox family. Jacob Fox married Margaret Wright's granddaughter, Clara Noble. I believe the Fox family cared for Margaret Wright in her twilight years. She died in Victoria, supposedly on October 21st, 1878, according to internet searches. However, my earlier research on this subject years ago, I found a date of October 26, 1879. Now, her headstone marker lists the year of her death as 1879. And she is buried in the Fox family area, just yards away from Victoria's founder, Martin de Leon, in Victoria's Evergreen Cemetery. You know, most children nowadays are taught in Texas history classes that a member of the first 300, that's the group that came across the Sabine River from Louisiana, by the name of Jane Long, is the mother of Texas. Not to be disrespectful to professional historians, of which I am not, nor to discredit any accomplishments of Jane Long. I disagree with this assessment. I do not believe there is any comparison to the courageous, life-saving, heroic actions of Margaret Wright, all for the advancement of Texas independence. I tend to agree with our founding father, Sam Houston. Margaret Wright, the mother of Texas. Happy Independence Day. Thank you.
Very interesting. Probably up until today, you never even heard of Margaret Wright. And needless to say, I know she's not in the history books, but thank goodness that many of them, works that have been done still exist, and she was such a courageous woman. And I know, because I read a little bit more of Walter's research, she died destitute, you know, had to depend on people to take care of her, and it's really, it's a very sad story. Margaret Wright. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
You and I really love history. That was terrific. Okay, at about 1:30 at Washington, the Brazos, those 50-some odd men signed the Texas Declaration of Independence. And there was a toast, whether it was Sam Houston's birthday or the signing of the Texas Declaration of Independence. But right now, get your bottles ready, y'all. You all. Y'all. Y'all, you all or y'all? Y'all. Well, I'm a transplant Texan.
Who needs water?
Okay. Anybody need water? I see one man raising his hand. Honey Sue needs one too. Okay. Thank you, Mary Helen. On your program, you'll see there is a Toast to Texas written by Dr. Joe Franz, who was the biographer of Lyndon B. Johnson. I actually knew him, and he used to conduct our Toast to Texas years ago, and he did work out at the university. And I had the great pleasure of knowing his daughter, who lives in Virginia, and I have met with her and worked with her because she's the school teacher. If you'll follow along with me to Texas, joyous and sparkling, evergreen when it rains, enduring in drought, timeless, endless in boundaries, exciting home to the adventurous of yesterday and today, with shrines from the past, a space and spirit for the future. To Texas, everlasting in the hearts of your people. Thank you. To Texas, may she long endure. Thank you so very much. We're going to conclude our short little ceremony, and I'm very much appreciative of y'all coming out. Father Mike, if you will close us with a benediction.
Let us ask for God's blessing upon us and upon our state. Father, rich in mercy, bless the people of Texas on this day. Bless our leaders with a spirit of wisdom and perseverance in pursuing a better life for all who dwell in our state. Bless us with an appreciation of the many gifts we enjoy because of the sacrifices of those who preceded us and the contributions of so many diverse cultures, races, and languages that make up the Texas family. Strengthen in us a spirit of rededication to work for the freedoms and rights we hold dear until all who claim Texas as home know those precious gifts of freedom, justice, and prosperity. To you be the glory, honor, and praise, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to sing it on the singer.
It's dangerous to know me, isn't it? I know. Brad, in closing, Brad is going to lead us.
Texas, our Texas.
Yes, we are
Would
singing
you
Texas,
stand?
our
And
Texas.
if you're Texan, when you get to the chorus, you sing the chorus twice.
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. Texas, our Texas, all hail the mighty state. Texas, our Texas, so wonderful, so great. Boldness and grandness, withstanding every test. Oh, empire
Thank you, dear friends, one and all.